Welcome to 100 Yards of Football this morning. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. Today, I'm going to highlight a legend since it's draft time this week in the 2021 NFL Draft. The guy I'm going to highlight is Lem Barney, second-round pick of the Detroit Lions in the 1967 draft out of Jackson State at the cornerback position. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm Vincent Turner of 100 Yards of Football. Let me talk about Mr. Barney. What a football player he was out of Gulfport, Mississippi. One of the best that ever done it at the cornerback position. And that's why other corners are making a lot of money today because of this young man, how he came into the league in 1967. Small story, as I just mentioned, out of Gulfport, Mississippi, a place that has a lot of talent. It's always had a lot of talent down there in the beaches of Mississippi. You think about some of the athletes that came out of there and people. Chris Jackson out of LSU, Jerome Barkham, who played in the National Football League with the New York Jets, my man Mac Luke, who's right now the offensive line coach at the University of Georgia, and one of the best that ever done it on TV, Mr. Travis Smiley. That's where Mr. Barney is from, Gulfport, Mississippi. But the thing about Mr. Barney, he was an all-state quarterback at 33rd Avenue High School. He took that career in the mid-60s on the Jackson State University, where he arrived on campus in 1964, and he was an all-state quarterback, as I just mentioned. But he figured that if I'm going to play on the next level in the National Football League, I got to switch positions. So he went over to the secondary and played cornerback. In his 2 seasons, in 1964 through 1966, Mr. Barney had 26 interceptions. And you know what? He got on the radar of the National Football League. And there was a young man that was with the Detroit Lions by the name of Dick Night Train Lane. We all know about him. One of the best ever done it. He started scouting the young Mr. Barney. And he said, you know what? When we draft this young man, because Mr. Lane was a head scout for the Detroit Lions, that we're going to get maybe the best that ever done it. Well, traveling along with my story, it was 1967. I was going into the 2nd grade. And we had a situation in the Turner household that my father, Chester Turner, and my favorite uncle of all time, Opie Turner, used to watch NFL football games on Saturday. So at that time, my uncle, Opie Turner, was contemplating the moving to Detroit, Michigan. So he said, you know what? I'm going to come over to my favorite brother's house, and we're going to sit down, and I'm going to see what's going on in Detroit. So the only way that I'm going to make a decision in taking a job up there, I'm going to start following the Detroit Lions. First game of the season, national televised game against the Green Bay Packers. Didn't know nothing about Mr. Barney. Second play of the game, Bart Starr throws it out to Bordower, the wide receiver. And I see this young man, number 20, dive and make an interception on the ground. He gets up and high-stepped it in the end zone. And you know what? That's when I fell in love with Lem Barney. And boy, did he put on the show. His rookie season, 1967, 10 interceptions, returned 3 for touchdowns. And the National Football League took notice. Took notice to a Hall of Fame career, which kind of put up numbers like this: 56 interceptions, 111 return yards, 7 touchdowns. Mr. Barney was also a good special teams player. Oh, my Lord. He had 3 punt returns for touchdowns in his career and 1 kickoff return in 98 yards. And he was the backup punter. But what made it so special about Lem Barney, I'm going to give you his grade report today. Coming into the National Football League, the cornerback position wasn't really highlighted. But when Mr. Barney got there, he took it to another level as a cornerback that can tackle, cover, can do it all. The grade report for Mr. Barney: great lateral movement, A+. Oh, Jesus, help me out here. As I said, playing through the receiver, A+. Playing the ball, A+. Instinct, A+. Quickness, A+. Hands, A+. The 2 things that separate Lem Barney from every other cornerback that played during this time, the combination of brains, smarts, and he was the first football player at that position to start watching game film. He was a special football player. And at 6'1", about, I would say, soaking wet at 185, he was one of the most physical cornerbacks because he used to come up against all them big linemen back in the day and throw his body around and make tackles. But what set me so much, and when you study these great players, you always go back and hear what other people say about him. Mike Ditka, we know who he is, Chicago Bears, Hall of Famer, Super Bowl coach, said he was the best that ever done it. Dick LeBeau said he was the best player he ever played with. Alex Karras said he was the greatest player that ever played the position pound for pound. And then the great late Mel Farr said there was no better teammate than Lem Barney. Think about the legacy that Lem Barney set. I'm a star when he came out of college, how he put the SWAC conference on notice of players at the cornerback position. Mel Blount, can you help me out? Southern University. Roy Nell Young, Alcorn University. Leslie Frazier, let me back out, Alcorn State University. Jimmy Marcellus, Tennessee State. Dominique Rogers-Camati, Tennessee State. Everson Walls, Grambling. Albert Lewis, Grambling. Aeneas Williams, Southern University. All these players in the SWAC conference followed this young man into the NFL. And in my very special tribute to Mr. Lem Barney, think about all the great corners that came in and followed him and kind of mirrored their game after him. Mike Hayes, Lester Hayes, oh my God, Dale Green, Rod Woodson, and the best they ever done at Deion Sanders. So today, when you talk about this young man, you need to talk about the cornerback position. The two words need to come out of anybody's mouth is Lem Barney. And the player that I think that has all the skills to mirror this young man in the upcoming draft on Thursday evening is the young man out of Virginia Tech, Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. When I look at that young man at 6'2", 200 pounds, he has the same history as Lem Barney, a former quarterback in high school. Got to college, played wide receiver, but they moved in the corner. And I know a lot of people are talking about his injuries. He's had a back surgery. I get out of that. But Mr. Farley, the young man out of Virginia Tech, is just as explosive as Mr. Barney. And I know everybody's talking about J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain Jr. I get that. But Mr. Farley out of Virginia Tech is a young man, to me, that highlights Mr. Lem Barney. So I'm going to end it today. Mr. Barney, when I think about you, my brother, I think about 1967. It was a song that went to number 2 on the charts, November the 4th, 1967, by Sam and Dave from Stack Records out of my hometown, the 901, Memphis, Tennessee. And the guy that wrote the song was Mr. David Porter. And I grew up 2 houses from him. And I used to look up to him and admire him every day. And I'm still best friends with his son, Greg Porter, one of my best friends ever in my life. So tribute to Mr. Porter for putting out that great songs. He wrote it with the legend, Isaac Hayes. It's the lyrics go like this. Coming to you on a country road. Good loving. And I got a truckload. I'm a soul man. Lem Barney, when he stepped into the National Football League in 1967, he was a soul man. And I hope, whether it's J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain Jr., or Caleb Farley, I hope one of these young men becomes the soul man of the 2021 NFL draft at the cornerback position. So if you liked the video today, please come in and share it. I'm Vincent Turner from 100 Yards of Football, and this video is dedicated to all the beautiful people from the 901, my beautiful hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. God bless, and y'all have a wonderful morning, and enjoy the 2021 NFL Draft this Thursday.